Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at @itchjessino. We won again, 1-0 to the Arsenal, 2 games in a row. Yeah, if you watch the game, you know it was bad. But at the same time, we can't talk out of both sides of our face. We can't say one moment, we want ugly wins and we want to fight and see heart and desire, and then when we see it, just complain about the technical quality and the passing. It's not all going to come together at once, but we're going to talk about it, have our instant reaction, talk about how we feel about it. We're going to do our winners, our losers, what we've learned, what has been confirmed to us, and take some of your calls. So it wasn't the 3-0, 3-1, 4-0 that a lot of people were predicting prior to the match. And I think what's really interesting is that you see something on paper and you think, yeah, we're definitely going to walk this game. And then you watch it on the pitch and you realize that this is a really young team. This is a young project that's going to take time to really firm up. And when you see players like Bukayo and players like ESR in particular that are not looking like they're in the greatest form and they're a little bit inconsistent, it's just another reminder that we're projecting a lot with these young players, projecting what we think that they're going to be and acting like they're that right now. This is going to be a struggle. Away from home against Burnley, you would think that we would have the majority of the possession. We wouldn't be so rattled, but you can just see that there was a lot of chaos there. But what I will say is that even though I think the passing was so sloppy and there were some really poor individual performances, we wouldn't have gotten that result from some of the older players that we had. Some of those older teams, we would have lost that game because this game required us to dig in and humble ourselves and play hard. And we did that. You saw the performances from Ramsdale, from Gabriel, even Ben White, who wasn't having the best game on the ball, still played really, really hard. Tierney, he was having a terrible game on the ball, but still giving 110% in his tackles and his headers and things like that. Tomiyasu getting stuck in. Bukayo not having a good game, but still tracking back. Aubameyang running around like a chicken with his head cut off, not having a great game on the ball, not getting a lot of service, but still playing. And I just remember just a couple of maybe months ago where we would have played against Burnley and we would have struggled on the ball and heads would have dropped and we probably would have lost. So that's not to say that it's okay for us to play the way that we did, because I do think that some of the things that we saw were a little bit alarming. But at the same time, young project, young players, we can't project what we think they're going to be in the future onto what they are right now. Young, raw talent. Some of them are not even anywhere near the finished product, so there's going to be inconsistencies there. And if we remember what Arsene Wenger said, when you play young players, you have to assume you're going to drop points. And we didn't drop points today, but we had maybe 7 players on the pitch, 6 players under the age of 23. Then the players that were coming in, your Lokongas, even Ainsley, who's 24, still a young player. Tavares coming in. These are still young players. People were asking for Martinelli to come on. Young player. So we're going to struggle a little bit. And I think the reality really hit me. It washed over me today that 3-0 to the Arsenal over teams that in the past we would have been beating with no problem. That's not our reality anymore. And you can be upset about it all you want, but I'm going to choose to adjust my expectations and enjoy this team for what it is. Take the small wins, still analyze the game, and just move forward. Because if I spend all my time comparing this young team to the teams of the past, I'm going to be miserable for the whole season and probably for a couple of years. So yeah, but that may seem a little bit like a downer, but I'm very happy about the win. And I do think that there's some really good individual performances despite some of the bad. So let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Joshua with an exclamation point says Ramsdale deserves man of the match, but Ben White was A cheeks today. Usopp's rubber band says, I will take a 1-0 every game. Mr. Austin says, Tomiyasu played like a $40 million signing today. Io said, sloppy 3 points. Love it. Oya Talani says, really good win, just as I predicted. Some people did predict 1-0. And I think more fans hopefully can accept the what we have at our disposal and maybe have realistic expectations for these young players. They're not going to be great right off the bat, you know? Lord Gunnar says, just these types of wins were something we critiqued Emery for. We played awful and we were lucky we didn't get punished. Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, you didn't see the intention behind what Emery was trying to do. We knew what the game plan was from minute one with Arteta. We just couldn't follow it through because, again, our players are not strong enough. We were making poor decisions. If we had made some better decisions at the beginning of that game, some of our crossing final balls were poor. Some of our decision-making in critical moments was bad. With Emery, I never knew what our intention was. It was always helter-skelter from minute 1 to minute 90. So, yes, we criticize Emery for these lucky wins, but at the same time, I believe that with Emery, it was hopefully Aubameyang scores a goal. With Arteta, we're trying to play a certain way. And because we don't have the players are not there yet, and we haven't been together long enough, and we're still missing key pieces, we're not able to fulfill it. But I think it's completely different than Emery because Emery never really had a style. Like, can we be honest about that, you know? Usopp's Rubber Band says, wins are wins. I'd rather win badly than lose looking good. That's true. Let's see. Darnell says, thoughts on Odegaard today? It was interesting because I kind of tweeted earlier on in the game, sorry, there's like a little bit of noise in the back, that Odegaard to me was playing like the Xhaka role off of the left-hand side and the double pivot with Thomas. And it wasn't a traditional 6 sitting alone and 2 10s. It really wasn't that. Odegaard was dropping in and trying to play balls into that left half space. I think it was kind of unsuccessful in that first half. Some of his passing wasn't great, but what he has that Xhaka doesn't have is that ability to progress the ball and kind of get into that final third and make some decisions there, whereas Xhaka just kind of stands there next to Thomas and kind of they handhold each other. So I do think it was successful in some instances, it was unsuccessful in others, but I do think that whereas he was a little bit of a peripheral player in the Norwich game, he was a little bit more influential in this one. And had some of the other players stepped up to the plate, I think he would have had an even better game. The free kick that he took was exceptional. That's just something we haven't had on the ball in a very long time in dead ball situations, is somebody that could take advantage of situations where we've done great. We in the first half, there were maybe 3 instances where we passed pretty easily through Burnley's midfield. And I just feel like we missed a trick because it would really be when we'd pass the ball around between Ben White and Tomiyasu. Thomas would get the ball, beat the first man, break the first press, get into that in-between space, pass between the lines to Bukayo, and Bukayo would turn and drive at the defense. We just didn't do that enough, but we did it that time and we got the reward for it. There were too many times last season where we had we were in good positions, but we couldn't take advantage of it because we didn't have the quality on the ball in dead ball situations. So I think Odegaard added that. I think he was good in the middle of the park. I do think that there were moments where he wasn't great, but I think in terms of his quality on the ball, he was a lot better than other players, and he was much better than what he was against Norwich. So, and there were other instances where I saw him screaming at his teammates. He was trying to get them to press. He was very vocal, and those things they're obviously soft factors, but they make a difference in a game where you're really struggling, you know, and I don't think we can overlook Odegaard's influence, you know, leadership-wise, Ramsdale's leadership on the pitch, Gabriel's leadership on the pitch, because I think they really carried some of the players that weren't having great games, like Tierney, like White, you know, those players. I do think he played well. Let's see. Io said, Pepe is okay at free kicks, just be fair. I mean, he's just okay, but Odegaard was great, you know. So his shot was great. Mr. Austin said, Tomiyasu cost us how much? I think something around 20 million. It's just nice to have defenders in your defense. You know what I mean? I know Ben White had some really bad moments, but Tomiyasu, having somebody that stays in his position and is a defender first really helps us when you have somebody like Ben White who's struggling. And Tomiyasu was great. I have a poll going on right now. You guys let me know who your man of the match is. And I'll go ahead and get started. I don't know, so I don't think George will be here. Sorry, guys. No George. Souls may be late, and Harry's not coming on. So it'll just be you and I today doing instant reaction, and maybe they'll be here for post-match. So, yeah, sorry, guys. But let's do our winners and actually let's talk about what we learned or what was confirmed to us. So this is a new section that I kind of added to the show where you guys can let me know in the chat box, what did you learn today about this team? Did you learn something new or was something confirmed to you? There was a lot of people that maybe thought Ben White was overrated. Maybe today confirmed that to you because he didn't have a good, performance today, So let me know what you guys think in the chat box. Let me know what you guys learned or what was confirmed. So I'll start. For me, what I learned is that Arteta's made the right decision about Ramsdale and bringing him into the side. Actually, I'm going to change that to confirmed because I always knew that he was the right choice. So what was confirmed to me is that Ramsdale playing is the right decision. And I knew that before the game started. I knew that before the Norwich game because I had done my research. I was accused, of somebody said that I was overly negative on Ramsdale. And I never have been. I've always been an advocate for Ramsdale, the goalkeeper. I just never knew if the deal made sense because we needed to improve our midfield. Ramsdale is a good goalkeeper. At 23 years old, you are being analyzed and compared to goalkeepers that are 5, 6, 7 years older than you. So if you're marginally better than, or maybe not as good as, or maybe equal to players that are 8 years older than you, I prefer you play because your ceiling is probably higher. Ramsdale is good with his feet. He communicates. He's vocal. He's quick off his line. He can play like a sweeper keeper. And he's also somebody that can catch crosses. And I think he feeds off of the energy and can also calm down the defense. So for me, it's one of those where I feel happy. Because for me, I'm a defensive person first, and I like to know that I can trust my goalkeeper, my center back pairing makes sense, and my fullbacks make sense. And for me, from a profile standpoint, we have made very good decisions in terms of the four in front of the goalkeeper and Ramsdale in particular. He gives me Emi Martinez vibes, and what everybody liked about Emi was that he liked to come off his line, he was vocal, he organized the defense, and he made decisions, and he was very decisive with the ball at his feet. Did he almost get caught in possession once? Yes. But that being said, some of the decisions that he made on the ball were really good for us in terms of our possession. I still think that some of our midfielders are a little bit slow to make the next pass once they get it for Ramsdale. I'd like to see them turn quicker and make decisions faster, but ultimately we'll get there. But having a goalkeeper that's willing to make that pass, willing to take the risk, and listens to the coach when he says, I want you to play out of the back, is a good first step. So for me, 100% confirmed that Ramsdale should be the number one. He should be playing over Leno, and Leno should be the number two, period. We don't win that game with Leno. We don't, 100%. So for me, that was what was confirmed. Let's see what you guys are saying. Barry Burns said, confirmed, Ramsdale solid, maybe won't be as good a shot stopper as Leno, but I want games my keepers don't have to pull off great saves because their back line is organized. Exactly. Bowie the Cat says, confirm my Pepe frustration. Joe says, confirm our attack is dysfunctional, needs more drilling and practice. Yeah, I still think there are huge questions around whether or not we can attack. There were, some of it is decision making, and then other parts of it, I just feel like some of our players are uncomfortable in what they're being asked to do, and they're not acting off of instinct. In the past, Arsenal was all about instinctual attacking play. We kind of just hit the halfway line, and then the players just started doing whatever they wanted to do off the cuff. Now it feels like our players are overthinking it so much. It's like, I don't want to see Pepe defer to other players when he's in the box. Several times he was in his the position that he's so good at, where he's kind of at the corner of the box with the ball on his left foot, and he would pass it. Don't pass, baby, shoot. So it's a matter of inconsistency, bad touches, bad choices, and I still feel like we're missing maybe one or two pieces in that front line. I don't think we have the right striker, and that is not any shade to Aubameyang. I think after a certain amount of time, you just have to freshen things up. And Aubameyang, to me, is giving 110%, but I still think that he's not a good fit for the lone striker in this system. Now, maybe if Arteta's gone, another manager comes in and they just start clicking. But I don't really feel that way. I do feel like there's a little bit of staleness there. Aubameyang he's almost, this is going to sound really harsh, but he's kind of outlived his career here at Arsenal. He only really stays at a club in his more senior career. He's only really stayed for 2 or 3 seasons, and then it was kind of over. And I feel like we're kind of running to the end of the road with Aubameyang, and it's really, I think that's why they were looking at a striker and they didn't get one. But I also think we're missing something on the left-hand side. I think we need a left winger that can do it all, and we don't really have that. We have Bukayo there, who looks a little bit uncomfortable on that left-hand side. He's better on the right, but also Pepe's better on the right, to me. I know some people think he's better on the left, but I don't really feel that way. So some decisions need to be made, and I kind of firmed it in my head where I was like, okay, we're going to struggle to score goals this season. And I think we are. I think we're going to struggle to score goals because we just don't have the balance. Our players are really young. And the last thing that comes for young players that play in the attack is clinical edge. And Emil and Saka are struggling with that. And so I think we will inevitably struggle. Let's see. What you guys saying? Oyatalani says, learned Gabriel is the new leader of our defense, saw him communicating a lot. And that's the thing. It's really interesting because Gabriel has now had his adaptation year, and he played it next to Luis. And now he is assuming a little bit of that captain-like mentality in the back. And I think a lot of people thought that it would be White, but it may not be. It may be Gabriel, and so we need several leaders out there on the pitch. And seeing Gabriel play the way that he did today just reminded me of why I love him so much. We haven't had a defender like that in a very long time, and he's maturing. Last season, he was very, very rash, almost to the detriment of all the good defending that he was doing. Today, he was mature. He knew when to go tight, when to drop off, when to intervene, and when to let Ramsdale take the ball. And so I'm seeing key components kind of come together. Ramsdale with Gabriel, Tomiyasu. White needs time to gel in between these two monster defenders and find his voice and find his niche. He's the guy on the ball. I would expect him to be dictating play from the back. He didn't really do that, but Gabriel was definitely leading from the back, and it's great. Jonathan said, confirm, don't give Pepe a new contract. How many of you guys watched the Leeds game yesterday? And when you watch that game, I think it's more apparent every single day that Pepe is not his price tag, but yet it still always comes up because we spent 72 million on a player, and you look at somebody like Rafinha, who's already more mature in the way that he plays on that left-hand side for Leeds. Very similar player, but a lot more refined. And Pepe is just still so frustrating and so raw. And I think he's one of our best attackers by default, and not so much that he's a great attacker for us. Does that make sense? Pepe is one of our best attackers because ESR and Saka have no end product, and we have no midfielders that can score goals. And Aubameyang is off of form. So he's good by default, but when you look at somebody like a Rafinha and you see how he plays that exact same position but gets you more bang for your buck, and I think they bought him for 30 million or something like that. Let me just check his age as well, because I think that's critical in this as well. Rafinha, 24. So he's 2-3 years younger than Pepe. You just see that, for me with Pepe, if a $30 million bid came in this coming summer for him, I would sell him and bring in somebody like a Pedro Neto, or even maybe, I don't know, he may not come because he's probably beyond us, but like a Rafinha, somebody for 30 million who gives you more bang for your buck, that's better on the ball, less frustrating. And if we're going to have limited amounts of chances, you want somebody that has that clinicalness about them. I don't know if that's a word, but he just doesn't have it. I would not offer him a new contract at this juncture. Things can change, but I would not offer him that right now. Ayo said Pepe tried his best, to be honest, but that's the thing. He has tried his best, but is his best good enough? At a certain point, Aubameyang and Pepe, they give 110%, and that's the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum at Arsenal. We haven't been getting the bare minimum. We've had so many players that are just taking a ride. So I do commend them for giving 110%, even though things were not going great. But at the same time, if your best is not good enough, then what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So Pepe, although I think is a good player, would be good for somebody else. At this juncture right now, if you ask me, would I give him another contract? I'd say no. Because for 30 million, you could bring in the next Rafinha. You could bring in the next Pedro Neto. That just kind of fits us a little bit better and gives us more bang for our buck. I'm not saying he's our biggest issue, but he is kind of an issue. Do you know what I mean? Especially because he's 26 years old and we have two 20-year-olds that aren't firing at the moment. So we have to rely upon our Aubameyangs and our Pepes to be our guys, and he's just not that. Let's see. Aaron says, confirm Saka needs to take a break. Do you guys think that he is losing some gas? I mean, he was trying, but maybe he is a little bit fatigued. Maybe in the next couple of games, you could see a Martinelli. This would be maybe a good opportunity for Arteta to show his maturity in terms of rotation and not play Saka into the ground. I think last season he did do that. And then with Bukayo playing in World Cup qualifiers plus the Euros, maybe he does need a little bit of a break. He wasn't great today. But the thing about Saka that I do love is that he still tracks back and gives 110%, even though he's struggling, And so, yeah, against AFC Wimbledon, I wouldn't expect to see him. Maybe we could see Martinelli. And I think Martinelli, if you use him correctly and you give him enough playing time, he'll be more useful to you than if you let Saka get injured and then try to bring him in and he hasn't played all season. Lord Gunnar says, learned Arteta's new style of breaking down low blocks. Confirmed Ramsdale is our permanent goalkeeper, and I was wrong about him not being ready. Yeah. But I understand why people were upset about Ramsdale. I do, because you spend 25 million on a goalkeeper that a bunch of people are telling you is crap because he got relegated. Your instant reaction is, of course, like, I don't want him. But Ramsdale is going to get better from here. And if this is the baseline, I can't wait to see what he turns into. A young goalkeeper of 23 years old doesn't get 3 big moves into Premier League teams. He just doesn't. He got a big move to Bournemouth, big move to Sheffield, and big move to Arsenal. You just don't get those moves if you're crap. Like, you know what I mean? And so I'm happy to see that he's getting a little bit of vindication there. It's still early days, but I think that there are good signs, that he's going to be a good signing for us. Let's see. Jim Howson says, because Rafinha would cost a lot and Neto maybe 50 plus, but in the end of the day, you want to spend a lot of money on your offensive players. And I think as long as you get bang for your buck, you won't worry about spending 50 million on so-and-so, 40 million on so-and-so. I think we could have spent the 72 million so much better, maybe even on 2 players for 35. So I understand that some of these players are going to be expensive, but when we're talking about a front line that's not firing, I think you would want to spend a little bit more, wouldn't you? As long as you're getting your bang for your buck. Aaron says, learned Aubameyang can drop deep in the build-up phase, but lacks the final weight of pass to be effective. I mean, everybody's passes were short. They were sloppy. They were behind. I kind of was thinking like, okay, maybe Lacazette could come in, because I think we could have used a little bit of better hold-up play up there. But Arteta's clearly really going with Aubameyang, and he is the guy with the contract, so we'll see what happens. Let's see. Oya Talani says, I can't believe we are yet to talk about Partey. What do you want to talk about in regards to Partey? What have you learned or what has been confirmed to you about Thomas? So, yeah, I mean, if I have to give just like my 2 cents on Thomas Partey for today, I think he played a good 45 minutes and dropped off. He was never 100% fit, and I think he was really good in that first half, but we need another midfielder. It's very, very clear to me that we need another guy. Like, we need somebody else to firm up that midfield, to give him some support. Odegaard was trying, but they were 2 of them trying to run a midfield with ESR, basically Casper, in that first half was difficult. And so I think Partey was good on the ball for the first 30 minutes, kind of trailed off for the next 15, and then he was pretty poor in the second half. We were getting battered, but he wasn't able to get on the ball. So we know he wasn't 100% fit. Hopefully he wasn't injured and he was just kind of like precautionary, like telling Arteta to take him off. But yeah, Thomas, yeah, we just have to hope he gets up to speed. And I think one of the things that we really do is we task some of our players too much with having to manage full, like, we have a defender that's really good. We tell him you have to do all the defending. We have one striker that could do it. It's like, we want you to do all the striking. We have one midfield. We want you to do all the midfielding. And it's too hard. It's too hard for one player to do. That's why you have a team. So for me, with Thomas, I think, again, you need another midfielder there to balance him out. I think having just him and Odegaard is not enough, especially because ESR is still learning. Hopefully he's 100%, or he's not injured, and he can give a good performance against Spurs. Let's see. So yeah, Oya Talani says, true regarding Partey's second half, but we must say AMN did really well when he came on. Exactly. So AMN did do good. He did. I think we're seeing also that we're a lot better when we have athletes on the pitch. I've been a big advocate of us becoming more combative and engaging in the competitiveness of the game, and that requires you to have athletes. Having Lakanga and AMN, although maybe isn't the best technically always, gives you the ability to compete against other midfields that are not great. So AMN did do good. So let's do losers first of today's game. So when we're talking losers, basically what that means is the players that didn't do well, or it doesn't have to be a player. It could be a referee. It could be Arteta. It could be whoever. It could be the announcers. You know, I think one of the losers of today's game was NBCSN's commentators for today. I don't know who they were, but if you were listening to NBCSN during this game, you would have thought every single time a Burnley player touched the ball, we were watching Iniesta. Like, the commentating was so bad to the point that they sounded like they were in agony when we scored that goal. Oh, but they haven't really created any chances, so who cares? It was a great free kick, and I think the agenda is alive and well, and I will be watching more games with the sound off. But let's see what some of your losers are, and then I'll tell you who mine is. Lord Gunnar says, Benny Blanco. I think he's a really big one. He confirmed a lot of the apprehension around him defensively today. He looked very frightened, shaken, anxious, and he made a lot of errors. One of them being the pass that led to the potential penalty. So I do think Ben struggled today, but I back him to get into the team and to get better. But he did look bad today, didn't he? Nashville says loser Leno is a hell no. I mean, yes. Leno, again, he was my loser last week. He's my loser, one of my losers today again. Come on. Come on. I mean, you could just tell it's the same thing that we realized once Emmy came in was that there's another, there are other things to being a goalkeeper than shot stopping. And we had gotten comfortable with Leno just being this guy that could kind of play out of the back, but was a good shot stopper. Now we've seen goalkeepers that could kind of do it all. So Leno is kind of ticking down that pecking order. I'd be surprised if anybody against Spurs was advocating for Leno playing. Pramod says biggest loser is Xhaka. Why? Why do you think Xhaka was the biggest loser? I think he was one of the winners last week because AMN and Lakanga didn't really make a big case for them being the option next to Partey. And because Partey played alone today, if you're saying that Odegaard is making a play for that left center mid, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing that. So if we were to continue, like Xhaka were to come back and Odegaard were to continue in that spot, I say I hear you on that, but that would mean that ESR, we need to step up a little bit more. Aaron says, loser, Sean Dyche moaning like a baby for that penalty. Yes, injected. I mean, they were just so annoying today. I think one of the false narrative around Burnley being this old school team that plays Route 1 football, it's just gross. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they are just, they get refereed different. They get a lot of calls that they don't really deserve, and they get to play in a way that other people can't play. So inject it, Sean Dyche, with your ashy, disgusting voice. Inject it. Your team got beat by Arsenal's kids. I mean, we were so young out there. I mean, like, come on. Let's see. Nashville Gunner says Xhaka walks into this team when he's back. I mean, do you think ESR has done enough in these past 2 games to maybe not put Odegaard further forward and put Xhaka back into the midfield to solidify the partnership? I think he does walk straight into this match, or into this team when he comes back. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a loser because I don't think it's clear yet that he's being dropped. You know what I mean? Nuno's last minute shot. Oh my gosh. Like, I think the thing with Nuno is I would play him a little bit more. I think Tierney is so out of form, and he looked pretty decent today. I think Tavares is somebody that he plays differently to Tierney, but he gives you something that we really need, which is directness. We have too many tippy-tappy, little, want to hold on to the ball, little cutesy kind of players in our team. And we just need somebody to just say F it and dribble up the pitch and be more direct, because defenders don't like that. And what they do like is to see Odegaard and Saka and ESR tippy-tapping with the ball. So I thought Tavares had a good little cameo there. Trevor says, losers, Ramsdale's naysayers. I think so. I think some people will wait a little bit longer to come around to the side. But yeah, a lot of the people that were calling for Ramsdale to being the worst keeper in the world, I think are probably swallowing those words a little bit. Let's see. Loser. I mean, you guys, it's not, winners and losers is not, oh, you freaking loser, you're the worst. It's just the way that I delineate it. Like, so before I was going to say got the win or in the bin. You guys don't like that, so yeah, but I get that. Ben White was poor. Tomiyasu played like a right-sided center back because Ben White needed a lot of help. Also effective Tomiyasu offensively, which also affected Pepe. Yeah. So you guys pretty much said it. My main losers were Ben White, Sean Dyche, Tierney. Yeah, those are my main ones. And the good one was the Ramsdale naysayers. So I agree with those. So my winners, I think my winner is, it's obviously Ramsdale. But I think we've already kind of talked about that. But my other winner is actually going to be Tomiyasu. I think there were some people that were just hoping that this was a bad signing because this false narrative around, is he a center back? Is he a right back? I don't know what he is. It's clear what he is. He's a player that's flexible and can play both. And he looked like a smash hit for 20 million, today. I think he plays with a sense of maturity. He tends to make the right decisions. And there were a lot of people that wanted this to fail because it's not Hakimi. It's not Baku. It's not Aaron's. Tomiyasu is a good right back that really suits our system. And so I think he was definitely a winner today. Remember, he just came into the side. His first game was against Norwich. And he looks like he belongs already. So Tomiyasu is one of my winners. And my other winner is Gabriel. Gabriel. So many people. Oh, Pablo Marie, he looks good. Him and Holding. No. Gabriel is the type of defender that you need in your back line when you play against a Burnley. I think Marie gets bullied in this game. Gabriel is what you need. He's aggressive. He's quick in the tackle. And now he's making the right decisions, in terms of when to go in tight, when to drop off. And I'm loving it from Gabriel. So there's people that were naysayers, people that were saying that Gabriel wasn't as good as Pablo Marie, and so-and-so is better, and so-and-so is better, and Fofana, and this and that. Gabriel is going to be a top center back, and he's only going to get better from here. As you get further back, I wouldn't even say that, but I would just say defenders tend to mature a lot slower, goalkeepers as well, and so watching Gabriel get better is going to be very, very, very interesting. I'm loving it. Ed says, agree, winners Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, and Gabriel. Gabriel is also a winner. Good on the ball. I think he was good on the ball today. I thought Tomiyasu was decent on the ball. So yeah, I was loving those three, really, with Ramsdale, Oyatolani, winners, Ramsdale, and Tomiyasu. I mean, a lot of us are pretty much the same on this. Aaron, Tommy, for being calm and composed, and one of his underrated qualities is his game management. Yes. People will get upset, I think, because maybe he kicks it out, and doesn't find a pass. But like in those critical moments of the game, sometimes you just need to kick it out and reset. And what he doesn't do is just aimlessly kick it down the pitch just for them to get it and whack it back at us. He does tend to have pretty good game management, and his philosophy is defend first. And I kind of like that, because when you've kind of suffered at the hands of Hector Bellerin for a long time, suffered at the feet of Hector Bellerin for a long time, you really respect and like somebody that just wants to defend sometimes. Odegaard, also a winner. I agree with that, Lord Gunnar. I think he has an underrated, because the offense was so poor, some of his work is going to go underrated, but I do think he was really good today in an offense that was really, really poor. Let's see. Pramad said, winner, small winner, AMN. Yes. I thought Lakanga, Tavares, and AMN did really good in their cameos when they came on. They gave us what we needed. We needed a jump. We needed somebody to put the key in the ignition and get us going. And they did that. I think there were some really good individual performances today. I think there were some bad ones, but there were some good ones. So in the end of the day, I think we just need to kind of take this, throw it behind us, go on to Wimbledon and see what happens from there. We asked for some more backbone and some more heart, and we definitely got that. We didn't get the technical brilliance that we wanted, but I think that will come in time. So I'm looking at the man of the match poll, and 39% of you guys chose Gabriel, 33 for Ramsdale, Odegaard with 15, and Tomiyasu for 12. I really think, depending on how you looked at the game, you could have chosen any of those guys, and these are still really young players, so we got to keep that in mind. But all right, you guys, let's see if we can do some calls. Let's see if some of you guys want to come on. Let me go ahead and share the link. Give me 1 second. Yep, got the link. I'm going to go ahead and pin it in the comments. If you guys want to come on and have your say, you can. All right, it's pinned in the comments, you guys. So if you guys want to come on, you can. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys want to see next? So we had a game against Norwich where we kind of dominated, but didn't really have maybe we just weren't as consistent as we want to be and we didn't finish our chances. Today was a completely different performance. It was more of a gritty, hard fought 1-0. What do you guys want to see next? We're going to play Spurs, who for me have not been great. I know they quickly got those those 9 points, but they weren't great. They haven't been great. So I kind of fancy us against them. I think it'll be hard fought, but what do you guys want to see? 2 goals at least. I hear you, Barry. I hear you 100%. I think what I'm looking for in these next couple games is to see some more clinical finishing. I want to see us make better decisions in the final third. I think if we make some better decisions today, we'll look at this tactically on Tuesday for members, but I want to see, there were several moments where I do feel like if you make a different decision or you make a better decision, we score a couple more goals. We didn't make the right decisions. I hear you, Nashville. I know George and Souls are not here. I don't think they're coming today, so it's just me today. So, yeah. Let's see. Mohammed Maki says 2 years of Arteta and we still haven't seen if he can coach attacks. At the same time, he hasn't bought an offensive player yet, except for Odegaard. He hasn't bought anybody for the front line. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I mean, we brought in William, but he didn't really buy him. So I think I would know for sure that he can't coach attacks if he brought in a striker and we still look like this. I think we're still kind of dealing with an imbalanced front line that they're not really Arteta's players. You know what I mean? Yo-Yo says places are up for grabs now in the forward positions. I mean, I would try Martinelli. I would try Martinelli off the left. I really, really would. Maybe you try 2 up top against Wimbledon. You try something else because it's not really working, is it? And Saka needs a break. Mohammed says, I want to see a run of wins. Spurs have been poor, so we need to win to make up for the Brentford loss. Yeah, for sure. Nashville says, I thought you were hiding them for the big reveal. No, I'm not. Yo-Yo says, beating teams you're meant to was a difficulty last season. I want to see more of the same. Yeah. And let's see. I want to see us now that we have our better players back. I want to see this team play against a better team like Spurs and see what happens. We played against Chelsea and Man City with a really weakened squad. So we'll see what we can do against those teams. But you're right, Yo-Yo. Beating the teams that we should be beating was a very difficult task. And I don't think we did it with flying colors. But again, with the young players that we have, the majority of our team is so young. 23 and younger is what we're looking at in terms of who we're relying upon. We have to, they should be beating them. I think you have to put an asterisk next to that because they're still so young and we're projecting. And I think that that's unfair. C. Wilder says winners, actual Arsenal fans, loser, fair weather, AFTV style Arsenal fans who want us to lose so they can bitch about Arteta. Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a lot to bitch about. I still think that there's going to be some people that are like, well, we're not beating them comfortably. We should have lost that game, da-da-da-da-da. But, if you know, if you're a real Arsenal fan and you want to see the team win, you'll kind of take this and say it wasn't our best performance, but I'm glad that we won the game. Anybody who wants us to lose is not an Arsenal fan. And I don't know if AFTV, they want us to lose. I'm not projecting that on them because I don't know. But any Arsenal fan that wants us to lose so that they can gain a following or whatever, that's just poor. I always, even if as mad as I get at Arteta, because I do get irritated by him a lot, I want us to win. I want us to win every single game. So I'll take that. I still think he's on thin ice. I definitely don't think that he's safe. But yeah, these young guys, I mean, regardless if Arteta's here or not, I think any manager would look at this group of 23-year-old and under players and say, I have something here. And that's important. Bjorn says Aubameyang was poor and useless in this game. I mean, I think he's starved of true service. I mean, Aubameyang is a goal poacher. He's really not that guy that's good in build-up. And we didn't create a lot of clear-cut chances. So I think his uselessness, the way that he looks useless, is more about the way that we play and our lack of decision making in that final third. So I would like to see maybe a Lacazette play, maybe in the next game against Wimbledon, Martinelli play. I would like to see those two play and see what they can give. See if we can get a little bit of continuity, or not continuity, but a little bit more something in that final third. Because the one thing about Lacazette and Martinelli is they take shots. They take shots. They usually don't defer. And I think we need a little bit of that selfishness. Yo-Yo says Wenger and even Poch qualify for Champions League with young sides. Arteta has to prove he's the coach so many believe him to be. Yeah, but like young sides, but let's also remember that I'm not going to look at, Spurs, I don't know if they were that young. Were they like 3 or 4 years ago? Because Son is 29 now. Harry Kane is like 28 now. So 4 years ago, they would be 24, 25 years old. We're talking about 20 and 21-year-olds. That's quite different. Not only that, but the players that they had around them in Wenger sides, they had world-class, top elite level players in and around these young players. And I honestly, I want to be honest here that the level of our young players was better then. I don't think you can compare ESR and Saka to the Wilshires and the Ramseys and the Cesc Fabregases, because those are elite. They're elite players, So I would say, Wenger, he had the experience. He had the experience around him in terms of better players that were around young players that were just infinitely better than these. But what I do agree with you on is that Arteta does have to prove that he's a coach. That's something that I kind of said before when the transfer window closed, is that he has to coach these guys now. He has to be that coach that got Sane to be the winger that he is, that got Sterling to be the forward that he is. We need to see that. And so I'm looking for that type of progression. So I half agree and half don't agree. Just half and half there. Mohammed also says other teams weren't as competitive back then. That's very true. I do think we look through a lens of just Arsenal, but we don't always look at, the league is so different than it was even like 2 years ago. There's so much money in the Premier League that we see it now that other leagues can't even afford to buy some of these players. So all the talent is here. And so it's trickling down the league to teams like Aston Villa, West Ham, Leicester, so the competition is way more fierce, and that's 3 years, 2 years change, so I just think I agree that Arteta needs to improve these players, but at the same time, we're putting unrealistic expectations on players, and this team, it doesn't really fit. It's not the same. So all right, so we do have some people that want to come on and have their say, so I'm going to let them do that. We have Shravan here. Shravan, hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Hey. So go ahead, have your say.
Oh, it's really difficult to analyze a game like this. Uh, and it was one of those like really scrappy 1-0 wins. Um, One thing that I was really encouraged by was that I didn't expect the sort of 4-1-4-1 sort of formation that we saw towards the end of the game against Norwich. Um, so I think that was a quite a progressive, say, move. Um, um, it's really difficult to sort of gauge how well this formation will work. In fact, I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter who were asking me like what I thought of this, and it's tough because um, we know that Burnley wouldn't prefer, even if we were exposed through the middle, Burnley wouldn't prefer taking advantage of that. Uh, which was very clear that they were just pushing the ball out wide so that they can have some sort of numerical advantage so that they can get their crosses in.
Hmm.
So it's unless we see the same sort of formation against Tottenham or maybe someone like a top 10 team, um, it's really difficult to gauge how this formation works. Uh,
Yeah, I get
yeah,
that.
it's really
But I
difficult.
do think Xhaka comes back in and we go back to the 4-2-3-1. I don't really
Exactly.
see this being
So
something long term.
yeah.
We'll definitely see. I don't see Xhaka staying outside of the team. But who is your man of the match today before we move to the next guy?
Uh, yeah, I would try. It has to be. I would give it to Aaron Ramsdale and Gabriel Magalhaes. I think they were
Yeah.
the yeah, but I mean, it depends. Like right now, those are two performers. But then when I sort of look into stats and when I'm already getting flooded with Twitter about Tomiyasu's numbers in the game, like his defensive duels and stuff like that. So I don't know if I probably watch the game again and maybe look at a few more
Look
players
at some
and
stats.
what are
Yeah.
the
Yeah, for
not just stats,
sure.
but just to get
And
a
rewatch the
feeling. But
game.
yeah, but I think it's always nice to have that. Sometimes you think that there is a player who has done really well, and then you go and look the underlying stats, and it's like awful. So, but it's fine. I mean, as fans, you cannot be like, oh, this is the man of the match because he did
Yeah.
this many, blah blah blah. So it's
No,
just
for sure.
like a very sort of natural reaction. I think I would say is some it would be Aaron Ramsdale and Gabriel Magalhaes. Just one point, if I can make, just a concluding
Yeah,
point.
sure. Hmm.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I think if you remember, I also talked about this. We discussed this about the game after Norwich, in which it looked like we were like making a scathing attack on Pepe or something like that. I know just that you sort of mention this every time you make a video. It's not that we are singling out players and then like we were trying to sort of play the dumb or anything like that. I mean, we were all. I mean, I was just like anyone, super excited when when we signed Pepe, and every time he plays well, I mean, he does excite me. But we should also be consistent in the fact that I still slightly feel that Mikel Arteta does not put himself to glory in the way he uses him again. Uh,
Yeah.
he's the fifth sort of 2-3-5. He's always on the outermost channel as the fifth player on the right hand side. Uh, Look, somebody like a Riyad Mahrez is able to do that because
Yeah.
he has the technical ability to cut inside, go outside, use his weaker foot, blah blah blah, and so on. I don't think Pepe in the sort of that outermost channel sort of is does very well. So it's not that we are trying to pick out on Pepe or anything like that. It's part his technical ability and also we have to be consistent on the channel that
Yeah,
we
no,
can.
I agree with that. And I think that people tend to pick out what they want to pick out and they feel as though I've never said anything positive about Pepe. I like Pepe. My issue with it is that Arteta has made a conscious decision to play his system regardless to if people fit it or not. And so there's some winners and some losers in the system. And not only
Exactly.
that, Bukayo plays better off of the right and he's actually being displaced out of his preferred position
And he's
to fit
struggling. And he's
Pepe in and he's
yeah.
struggling. So
Mm.
it's a little bit of that give and take. I do think Pepe is a good player in somebody else's system and maybe somebody else's
Correct.
league. But at this point, if I take my feelings out of it, I'm thinking, could we get more out of that position? Probably, and that's really where I fall there. But Shravan, thank you so much for coming on and having your say. I also see that you joined as a member, so we'll
Yeah.
see you on Tuesday for the tactical breakdown. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. See you then.
Cool.
Bye. All right. So, yep, I'm going to bring on AFT Dan now. Hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What do you want to
Hi,
say,
gents.
man? Go ahead.
I would like to say, as I said on my channel before on All Things Football, I said originally that Burnley will be a tough test in general because of the way they play. They play such an intense press, which is, I have to say, is underrated. underrated by many, overlooked by many teams, that they play such a intense press that really get at you, especially with the fans coming on your back. And the way I saw us perform in the first half, what I saw from the first half was really good. We had control. We generated more chances, a lot of chances. I think the only criticism of that first half was that we didn't convert, which is becoming a real issue now, because the more time you don't convert chances, the more time you allow the opposition to get back in the game. And we saw that in the second half. They came out at us. Daesh made a few substitutions. They did their press again. And because we weren't taking our chances, we lacked composure in the final third, which allowed Burnley back in the game. Plus, you always have to remember the fans are back now. So that played a huge element to the way Burnley play, and it enticed them more, and we lost control in the midfield. I don't know about you, Jess, but the way I saw the team, it felt like almost they were getting the front third, but they couldn't pick the right pass at the right time. And I'm hoping, I don't necessarily blame Mikel for that. I think it's more down to lack of experience in the final third, which I think they'll improve on as they get older. The substitutions Mikel made, I thought they were good, all right today. And if anything has taught us an important lesson, it's that don't overlook any team in the Premier League. Any team in the Premier League is dangerous. Any team in the Premier League is capable of doing something. And we saw how our team comes back from being under the cosh, that they will fight for their result. And that's what they did today, which is a good point.
Yeah, that's something that we haven't really seen. There's been times in the last maybe 2 or 3 years where I feel like we would have lost that game. There's no way we would have got out of that, without conceding a goal. So, and I do agree with, it's just a combination of things. It's the lack of balance in our front line. When you play Aubameyang and Pepe, you have to play a counterattacking style, and we want to play possession. And so they kind of struggle when we want to possess. They have to go in behind. And the inexperience from ESR and Saka really showed today. And it's maybe just a little bit of mental, physical fatigue plus inexperience, and we just have to kind of weather the storm. But I agree 110% with what you're saying, and good points. Good points. Thank you so much for coming on, though, and having your say.
Thank you.
Are you there?
Bye.
All right, bye. All right, you guys, we've been here for about an hour. I'm going to go and get ready, you guys. I'm going to be in Portland for the next couple of days with LAFC. So Monday is going to be a tough one to do the post-match. I don't think I'm going to be able to make that. But what I will do is we will do post-match on Tuesday, and then we will do another stream after that for the tactical breakdown. So we'll do post-match and tactical in the same day, so to make up for it. But yep, this was it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. I know that we didn't have the full gang here, but I'm still here. And yeah, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, consider being a member, all those great and wonderful things. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.